I think that I did allegiance on there. We can still do it. Oh, great. There you go. There you go.
Order the city council special city council meeting for Thursday, May 14th, 2026. We have roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Here.
Mayor Farr,
Here.
Councilmember Calderon,
Here.
Councilmember Roberts,
Here.
and Councilmember Sanchez is absent.
Community participation forum, members of the public may address the city council on matters not listed on the agenda. City council may not discuss or act on any community participation item brought forward by a member of the community. Comments are requested to be limited to 3 minutes.
The speaker card supposed to be there.
Seeing none. Close community participation forum and move to consent agenda, which is none. Items for council consideration. Item number 1, strategic planning session, Public Works Department.
Mr. Mayor, before we begin, I'd like to just, for the audience and those that are potentially on the line here and the public, I want to just give a brief statement of the purpose of the meeting, of the strategic planning sessions. This is an opportunity for staff to provide a brief overview of the purpose and the structure of these upcoming strategic planning and budgetary sessions. The intent of these current presentations that you will be receiving today and the ones to follow through the departments is an opportunity to create thoughtful and transparent process that allows for City Council to discuss long-term priorities, organizational goals, community needs, infrastructure planning, and financial sustainability before the formal adoption of the annual budget. The best practice in local governments is to separate strategic planning discussions from the detailed budget review sessions. The strategic planning session allows council to focus on the broader vision, policy direction for the city, while later budgetary sessions provided by the financial department will provide more of a financial analysis, operational details needed to implement those priorities responsibly. During the strategic sessions, council may discuss areas such as community priorities, service expectations, infrastructure, capital improvement needs, economic development opportunities, public safety and utility operations, parks, streets, housing, the quality of life initiatives, organizational capacity and staffing considerations, long-term financial planning and sustainability. The goal of these strategic planning sessions is not to adopt the budget tonight, but rather to provide policy guidance and identify priorities that staff can use in preparing and refining the proposed budget for future review. These meetings also provide council the opportunity to ask questions, request additional information, identify areas for further analysis, and long-term goals in an open and collaborative setting. We can start with Jerry's presentation.
There. Being here, taking your time this afternoon, here to go over the initial budget. Go ahead. So is this actually it? Which one is it? So, that's it. All right, thank you. So this will be our kind of overview. This basically overview of everything, each department we have, sewer, facilities, streets, water, parks, and a list of the things that we do for each, like for sewers, the cleaning, the lift stations that we maintain, taking care of the manholes, monitoring, preventative care, and twice a week, we check for plugs. Any plugs we get, obviously we have to take care of them. It's a major deal with the state. We don't want overflows. Equipment wise, we maintain the equipment, the facilities, buildings, fuel management. Streetwise, try to do preventative care. That's going to be part of our paving that we're looking forward to. Street sweeping, keeping the streets clean, street sign management. And it gets sidewalk repairs, curb gutters, tree trimming for safe travel. Water department, maintain our wells, water mains, all the infrastructure's there. In the wells, we have chlorine feeders that have to be monitored every day. The backflow prevention. We have approximately, I believe, 80 backflows in the system now that routinely have to be checked. And we do our daily, weekly, monthly, annually, all of our water testing that's required by our regulator from the state. Parks department. I don't know, we maintain all the parks, mowing, all the irrigation, playground equipment, and the public restrooms. We maintain all that, keeping everything clean. Storm drains is trying to keep all the manholes or the storm drain grates, the pipes flushed out for winter time, try to minimize flooding. Right now, our staffing levels, all of our previous years, we've always had 11 full-time staff. That includes from the director all the way down to a maintenance one worker. And currently we are working with 9. So we're trying to maintain the city with the 9 employees right now. Looking to hopefully get back to our 11 plus what we're going to need once Highway 99 gets taken care of. Once we take that over and the sports complex. So in our utilities, our water system here, obviously it's the daily well operations that we take care of. Insurance, we rotate them on a basis of the daily demands plus wear and tear, try to get everything equally. So 1 or 2 wells is taking the brunt of everything. It's kind of a preventative idea. Inspections and compliance, it is a state requirement that we daily test for chlorine residuals. And that gets noted. Flows, daily flows, that all gets reported to the state as well. Standby wells, we do have 2 emergency ones, which is Fairview and Wilson. Wilson is one that in the past we have started seeking funding for the arsenic removal. That is one of our centralized wells that would be really nice to get back online. It would help our entire system to get it going again. Sewer lift stations, wastewater infrastructures. We have our 6 sewer lift stations that obviously they pump all of our wastewater all the way across the river to our wastewater treatment plant. We daily inspections, check those. We do confined space entries to 2 of them once a week. Go down in to make sure all the pumps, everything's clean, working properly. Upgrades in the sewer, we've got generators, some concrete pads, improvements for the electrical and backup power that we're working with. Highway 99 lift is one of them that we have a new generator for. We want to get it installed, and that way if we have any power outages, anything happens, it's up and running. It is now, but we have new equipment that needs to be replaced for the old dust. The wastewater treatment plant, it's daily operation out there. Have to record the flow for the state. The head works, we have to clean it, make sure the bar screen's clean. It's an automated bar screen, but it still has to be checked daily. There's wear bars and such in there that we have to monitor to make sure it's doing its proper job. Big thing we're looking at still is sludge removal. So we're looking for solutions. It's a very expensive process. I believe the last estimate we got, $1.5 million or
2 to 4.
2 to 4 million. So we need to look for funding one way or another. It's something that it's not going to be an if thing. It's going to be when and how we're going to get it done. It's just a future that we have to look at. We go streets, parks, community assets. This was our paving. In 2021, we did right at 3,000 tons. The next year was 3,800 and then 28. And you see then 24, 25, and 26, we didn't do any paving. I've got planned for this fiscal year by the end of 27 to do portions of Locust, Idaho, and Oregon. That would, and in the yellow, that's the sections that we're proposing to get done. One of the ideas of this is trying to keep each area local or close, so we're not tracking the paver all the way north, all the way east. And so working on that section. Parks, operation and maintenance there. We maintain 7 parks and the boat ramp, and park being it's a community asset. Public Works handles the year-round upkeep of all the parks, grounds, restrooms, facilities. Boat ramp, which that's more of a seasonal clean area. When the salmon season comes in, it gets pretty crazy. It's more of a daily process. Then we have got the future sports complex that we're working with here. The soccer fields, once they get built, we'll be responsible for maintaining the drainage, the infrastructure, pump to ensure proper water management and field playability. And then the Highway 99 rehab project, obviously with Caltrans right now. I hear October they're supposed to be done with it. We're going to take over the trees, shrubs, irrigation system, sidewalks. So it's going to be more to take care of. The maintenance districts, the assessment districts that we have, the Eagle Meadows, Heron Landing, Little Avenue. And those are areas that we maintain weekly. They need to be mowed, edged. There's issues with sprinkler systems that the guys have to maintain, take care of. We do have upcoming districts, which is Stephen Estates, Sports Complex, and Pacific Flyway. They're going to have dedicated maintenance plans, and that'll be work that's going to be added to us as well. So future planning here, we got looking to add additional staff. Other than the two we'd like to get back to 11. Now we are seeking for the 2 more once 99 comes in. Road surfacing and sidewalk gap closures. We're looking for paving priority roadways, closing gaps in the sidewalks network. One of those is the Fairview that we've been working on for closing those gaps with the sidewalks, everything for safer for the schools, school children. Wilson Well, that was one that I've mentioned, that addressing the arsenic contamination in Wilson Well. We're looking for wellhead treatment. That's a process that we're seeking funding for. To get that one, we do have 2 other wells in the system that we are right now on a quarterly sample routine, looking for, since the arsenic level went to 10 parts per million. It's hit a lot of cities, but we're right at that level. And so it required quarterly sampling. If we can get that average, keep it at 10 or below, we're okay. But if it starts exceeding, those wells are going to need to be treated as well. So it's just make sure everyone's aware of it. That, it's the big thing we want to know. We want to make sure that's coming up. Accomplishments we've done. Big one for us this last year was this Calchan project.
Sorry.
Did I hit that? Sorry.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I realized-
Wait a minute. Did I hit that button?
Is it cut off at the bottom?
It looks like it is a little bit.
I was trying to look at different,
I
sorry.
can read it off of mine, but
Okay.
our big thing was USA's, going out marketing USA's for all those contractors out there, making sure our sewer pressure main, our water mains, everything's marked. Whether they called in remarkings or not, we went out there 3 days a week. We did not want that stuff to get hit. Knocking on wood, it was minimal. And there was a couple instances, but then for development wise, Stephen Estates and Pacific Flyway and Parkland and Orchard View Phase 2, we've been working with them. We've inspected their water and sewer tie-ins, done their back T testing for Stephen Estates. All that's passed. It's ready to build when they're ready. So we've worked pretty hard with Vincioni Brothers and got that pushed through. In the parks, softball field and snack bar, we did get those taken care of. Got that air conditioning unit put on the snack bar, and the dugouts for the softball fields, we did get those replaced. Eagle Meadows well rehab, we've done, got that one done. Basically, a company came in, pulled the complete pump system out, the motor off, everything was rebuilt, the screening was all cleaned. But it's preventative maintenance. It's about a $70,000 project, but it's our domestic drinking water. It needs to be taken care of. Streetwise, we did get those crosswalks that was asked over there off of Fairview and East Hazel for the kids to get across there safer. And then citywide maintenance and service calls. No secret, there's potholes everywhere. We've worked hard trying to minimize that. We've taken care of water breaks, trees. Wintertime, winds blow, branches fall down. We're trying to get those taken care of. And daily and weekly as well. Driving through, we see branches and stuff. We try to get them trimmed as soon as possible. And then park maintenance. We've almost pretty much it's the daily maintenance every day. There's mowing, there's trimming, there's playground equipment, everything to take care of, inspect. That's a full-time job in itself. So with our future strategic plan, streets wise, resurfacing streets and doing ADA repairs. I've got in the parks, replacing the softball announcers booth. I know we tried to get that worked in this before softball, baseball started this last year. Communication between the school trying to build something and us working on stuff. That is a goal that I'd really like to get done by the end of 27. Get that taken care of. Little Avenue well rehab. That's the one I want to get done after peak season. So this fall, when our water demand goes down, I want to try to get in there and get that one rehabbed like we did Eagle Meadows and Liberty. We worked on the Laurel Street extension, worked with Bennett and got that, got the preliminaries done on that. We want to get that finalized 27, 28 as well. Bear Park. No secret there. We want to get that thing paved. Hopefully in 27, 28, we can do that. We'd like to, get some information out there, see what we can do, what we need to do, what it's going to cost us to get it done right. We can go out there under direction and put an inch or two on a lot of areas. I'll tell you right now, it's not going to last. It needs to be done right. It needs to be dug out. All the soft spots need to be probably geofabbed in. And something that's going to last another 20 years instead of a little bit of patching. Also on the sewer, lights flash on her, sorry. We have a generator. We already purchased the generator for Housing Authority. We want to get the pad and everything built, get that hooked up, and that will minimize. We have a portable generator on a trailer that there's a few lift stations that we take to right now that don't have their own generator. This would allow us just to go out there and check and make sure things transfer when they lose power without us having to hook up a trailer and run out there. It only take one person. Otherwise, when we take a trailer, it takes two people. Spruce Well, that's another one. We have the generator for that. I'd like to get that done by the end of this 27 season. The Highway 99 lift station, we want to get the pipes inside the wet well are deteriorating, and we would like to get those replaced, get that rebuilt. Would be beneficial to give it a longer longevity life for its use. Then also the 28 through 29, mentioning wellhead treatment, that's for the arsenic removal that we want to continue to seek funding for. Parks-wise upgrades. With the grants, we got Rotary Park. There's been some ideas thrown around that we'd like to kind of transition it to more than just that park. Maybe put some basketball courts there, or repurpose part of it for future. We got the sports complex that hopefully will get wrapped up, and the other big thing is our sewer plant. That sludge removal. We've been fighting it for years, and hoping to get some funding to start getting that removed. That's unfortunate. It's a tough one because there's only a few places, and I believe it's South Bay, that takes the material because of its concentrations. So it's that raises the price. Trucking. Anyway, that's one we want to really work on as well. And thank you. It's a pleasure to serve. And questions?
I have a question. Two things. First, on the last thing discussed with the sludge removal, I might get together with you later on and we'll discuss that. I've been talking to haulers and actually went out to an LTF meeting out at the
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
And I brought that up. And this process might be a little simpler than what we're anticipating.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And there's a process, and they'll come out and they'll test and they'll do all this stuff to make sure. And there's a drying process and
Right.
and everything. And I just, in my mind, I have a way possibly working, but maybe that. And the other thing is, where are we at with the one well that has arsenic in it with the grant funding? And we've talked about this for years. Where are we at on that grant? Have we started a grant or?
That maybe I can ask Dave, because he was the one that fully.
Yeah, and I have it in my presentation as well.
I'm wondering if we should hear Dave's presentation, because some of that
Okay, well,
we
that's
covered,
fine. Yeah, that's
and then we can go back to
And maybe
questions.
that'll answer the question as well. That,
awesome.
yeah, he was the instrument on getting that all started. So,
Okay, that's only two things I had.
okay,
Well, I've got a couple of questions that
Yes.
maybe after we hear from Dave.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
all right,
Yes, I have a couple of questions.
okay.
Um. How much of our workload will be increased for you the next fiscal year?
We'll have Highway 99, that whole corridor that we'll need to maintain. We'll have, probably Steph and Estates should be starting to build pretty soon. I hear their map was finalized through the county. So they're gonna wanna go vertical. We'll have that maintenance district there to take care of. Pacific Flyway, once they're done, we'll have that as well to take care of. So that's three more areas that will need to be maintained on a daily basis.
You wanna recommend an increase in your budget?
I would certainly love the idea of getting back to our 11 that we've had for many years. And then we've asked for two more once the Highway 99 project was finalized. So that would increase a total of 4 employees. But yes, that's what I would ask for.
One last question. You mentioned about street maintenance.
Yes.
Do you have priorities, especially in what streets you will consider the first ones to address?
Yes, I thought I had that on there, sorry. The first ones that I've got proposed to do and have got an idea of the pricing. One is Locust. It's between Vermont and Oregon. That's that one whole stretch that it's a continuous patch job, potholes. There's a big area so that's Idaho between Locust and Sycamore as well. And then Oregon between Locust and Little. That was what I want to try to concentrate on for the 27th season. With where everything is right now, it's kind of really hard to pinpoint exactly, but we're looking right now at about, just to do that, about 225,000.
Thank you, sir.
So. You know, Brendan.
Well, before, my question kind of correlated with
Okay,
Angel.
Yep.
It's about staffing.
yes,
You say you have 9 right now. How long have you been working with
for
9? Not enough.
right at a year.
The
Yep.
reason why?
Only thing I've been told is we did funding. We didn't have the funding for the employees.
So by lacking 2 less than what you need 11 currently.
Yes,
Well, what haven't you been able to do having 2 less employees?
we haven't been able to exercise valves, which is an exercise valve program that the state asked for. It's been very minimal. Our hydro flushing and Cameron, all of our sewer lines, it's been minimal. Those are the 2 main ones. Those are like state mandated. So I try to at least get some done. That's our 2 biggest things.
And when we take over the maintenance on 99E, you're gonna need 2 more, right? So
Correct.
So you need 4 more people totally here, real short.
Yes,
Is that in the budget to get that?
we're still working on budget.
How are we gonna do that?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to figure out. Yes,
It sounds like we're working at a deficit here with not enough employees.
yeah, certainly not. Everything is not getting to the standards that I believe that we should be getting done.
So let's work hard to get them.
Absolutely. I agree and I appreciate the thought. Thank you.
Any other questions? Before we have Dave?
Yep, sorry, walk away from you.
I'm good.
Good, okay. Thank you.
Right. Mayor and Council, thank you for having me here. So we'll give you a quick run through on what we do is city engineering, and then jump into some of our accomplishments and future plans. So the overview, we support, pretty much staff across the board here, but primarily in public works, with our projects, on the water distribution and sewer collection. But it expands us further into that with compliance, reporting, the construction inspection, coordination with, Caltrans and those kind of things. Utilities and easements. And then we also help planning out quite a bit with our developer plan checking. And then, any of them like the municipal service reviews, where we're looking at what our future capacities are, how we're going to handle growth, those type of things. Administration, we help with the grant support or pursuing grants, identifying grants. A lot of times we're in the municipal code trying to make sure that when we are giving direction, we have the backbone to, stand behind what we're telling developers to do or contractors. And then, making sure that we're following our own code as well. We've been working on your design and construction standards. They'll be coming to you real soon. So we're up to industry standard with that. Very cohesive set of details along with specifications that align with our permitting. They align with our municipal code. So that's something that, and those are kind of a working document, but this is they haven't been really refreshed in about 25 years. So that's been a big effort. We're involved in your CIP budgeting and then a lot of intergovernment coordination, whether it's Caltrans, BCAG, the county, your neighbors. And then also with the parks, again, looking for those grants. How can we find a project that we can be competitive on? And then we usually help with the cost estimates, what's it actually going to cost to construct.
All right.
Into the details a little bit, specifically following up with Public Works there on the water. We do assist with the safer reporting, another requirement with the state, as well as, there's a lead inventory. So trying to make sure we're mapping and getting all of those compliance pieces in. This last year, we had the cross connection control plan, which was required by the government, the state and local, state and federal government. So we assisted with that. A lot of times we're helping put together the request for proposals and advertising those, and then help go through that process as well. And then the strategic planning, kind of looking forward, as Jerry mentioned, we're looking at well rehab, Fairview, and then the Parkside and Little Avenue are kind of the ones coming. To your question, since I have the mic about the funding, so we have brought that before council before. We keep running into issues with the state not having funding unless there's certain criteria met. So it's like this rework of the application. And then a lot of times it comes down to capacity with, what takes priority. Jerry didn't really mention this, but I know that they respond much like we respond. What's the next fire or the next ball that's dropping? So we, Highway 99 has been, it's taken a lot of effort, right? It's a big project through town. And then, these other quick turns, and we'll get to some of those others. So yeah, future funding projects that we'll continue to look at and look for that money to, those funding opportunities to show up. We're hopeful with Prop 4. It's just now starting to get a little traction. We're seeing some of the agencies come out with their guidelines or their draft guidelines. So we're really hoping to see that all those billions of dollars that the state or that all of us citizens voted in, that they start giving us a way to request that and spend it. So we'll look at pipeline projects. I know we've talked about that one before with replacing some of our undersized and potentially leaking small old pipes. And then SCADA is always a good one for your water system so that, Jerry's able to actually monitor from his desk what the wells are doing. It keeps that data that the state is looking for readily available for production and conservation efforts, all those things that they want us to report on. One of the things we've started talking with a little bit more about again is a GIS system. I just put GIS, but really it's asset management. It's something that, again, through your computer, you get the access to, like Jerry mentioned, the valve exercising program. We want staff to be able to see which valves have been exercised when. That way, they're efficient moving around the city. That's where GIS can really come in and be a real helpful tool. It tells you, just the amount of data you can store on a single click of a button, get when they exercised it, when it was replaced, if you've had breaks in the area. That helps you plan for future projects, because if he keeps getting the same call to the same, street, well, that's probably the pipe that you want to replace next, right? And so by having a digital record of that, that'll really give us a lot better direction for future planning. So I think that's a really important one for the future. Sewer projects. So Feather River sewer crossing. This year we finally got those borings done in the river after years of permitting and whatever it takes them so long to figure out if we can actually go fill a hole. Finally got it done. The data wasn't what we were hoping for. The geology that we were looking for pinched out on us. So there isn't really a great solution for boring a tunnel underneath the river. So we've submitted an amendment to the state. We actually just heard today that they have finally sent us that amendment for execution. So we requested additional time and then a shift of the budget. They wanted us to complete a 90% design, but because what we thought was going to be our feasible option isn't feasible, we're kind of backtracking a little bit to look at how else can we replace this pipe across the river. So yeah, good news. We got the amendment. We're just executing now, and then we'll move forward with kind of that rephase of the feasibility analysis, cost estimates, how to move forward with that next phase of the project.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
If I remember right, when we were talking about this last, there was an idea of surf going underneath the bridge.
Correct.
Instead of trying to go underneath the river.
Yep.
How did that materialize?
So we were just waiting for the state to execute this amendment. It's kind of my philosophy that we don't want to go put too much effort into something until we have the contract that says that they're going to reimburse us for it, right? Because these are, the city then takes on that risk of funding those studies and that process without having the grant. So we've just been waiting for the state to get that grant, right?
So we don't know whether we can put it over the bridge or gotta go underneath the water.
No, we haven't touched the project since we submitted the amendment application to the state. So that was back in January that we submitted that application. It's taken them 5 months.
I hate to keep going on this, but I understand that going underneath the river is not gonna work.
Correct.
Currently, that's what the study shows. So our other alternative is coming over the top.
Well, and it's not that it won't work. It's just instead of going, 60 feet deep, you got to go 100 feet deep, right? And so the cost of doing that, big cost is these shafts down the river. And does it make sense for us to go 100 feet? So just like going over the bridge, it's what does that design look like? What is the cost that goes with it? What are the safety measures that need to be taken? Can the bridge even handle it? We've heard mixed stories from the county on the condition of the bridge. So it's that kind of coordination that are the next steps. Likely it will be a feasible option. It increases, it's going to add about a mile of pipeline to our already, to our lift stations. So we have to look at the lift stations too. Now, are we looking at upgrading every lift station that feeds the force main because we have an extra mile of pipeline that we've got to feed it out there to? So, taking a step back and looking at what are those alternatives? Are we going to, just reroute the pipe a different direction instead of going out?
Well, in my mind, we're weighing the scales. Is it gonna, how much money is it gonna cost going underneath the river? Can that be done? or not, doesn't sound like you can. Or do we go over the top? Sure, it may cost more money, but we're sitting on a time bomb. If that thing breaks and that, all that crap goes down the river.
Can I ask a simple question? Let me ask.
Please.
So how much, I guess the question needs to be asked, how much is it going to cost the city and us to find out if we can use the bridge as a ramp?
So short answer, it's not gonna cost the city anything. That's the point of the amendment to the grant. It doesn't, it's not, yeah.
I understand, but I remember talking about this last time we talked about it, and the bridge was a question that was going to be asked. I guess, when do we ask that question? I mean, we need to either get it done now, ask that question
These are
in
the,
months.
these are the next steps. Like I said, we haven't touched the project since I brought the amendment to you because we were waiting for the amendment to be executed. We didn't want to risk the city being, if the state came back and said, we don't agree with your amendment, we're not going to authorize that, then the city would have been on the hook for that money spent up until that point. So we pushed that.
So that doesn't answer my question. My question is to ask a simple question, if that can be used as on the bridge, if that pipe can be.
But it's not just that simple question, because their first question is, what's the load? How much weight do we have to put on the bridge? What are the structural components that need to be bolted to the bridge look like, right? So there's the engine, so I can say, hey, what's the capacity of the bridge? It's a blank question, but it doesn't answer, can it support the pipe? Because we need the engineering to go with it.
I understand, but the question I'm trying to get answered is, are they going to entertain us putting a pipe on that bridge? It's a simple yes or no.
So yes, they will entertain it.
Okay.
Whether or not it can handle it is a
Yeah,
different.
that's different. I mean,
Yes.
have we asked that question?
Yeah, yes, I've
Can
talked.
we use that bridge?
Yeah, so I talked to the county. They have their own feasibility study going on right now. So they submitted for grant application for bridge replacement. So when we asked them 3 or 4 years ago, they said, oh, we're looking for a grant to replace that bridge. So then it doesn't become feasible to go hang a pipe on it if it's going to take them 10 years to replace the bridge. When I talked to them 6 months ago, it was, oh, we're doing a scour analysis. There's still potential that they're going to have to relocate the bridge because of scour, but they just got the funding. So now we're in parallel with them as they're doing their scour analysis. We're going to have a better sense of, are they going to replace or are they just going to repair? Likely it's going to be a repair of that bridge. And that was my question. Well, where are you going to put it if you have to replace it? And they said, well, we'll probably put it back to where the old bridge used to be. So just north of that one, right? Well, that at least gives us an idea. If they're going to replace it, now we could put a pipe and we know what the next step is, okay, we've got to go another 250 feet north, right? And put it on the new bridge, right?
Correct.
So those are all the little pieces that are in the works. Again, we just haven't moved on it because we wanted to make sure we secured that funding before we started expending city funds on that.
Okay.
I'd like to follow up. Because I'm worried about this thing breaking, and we got a whole lot of, you know what, going down that creek. The old bridge, the cement pillars are still there.
Yep.
Been there for 100 years maybe. Is that where they're talking about putting a new bridge across there? Why? That bridge is there, but it's
Potentially.
not that old.
Potentially.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer to that because I don't, that's not in the city's purview to determine how they're going to redo that bridge. And again, as far as I know, they just got their funding allocation. I'm not even sure that they actually have their contract because it's federal dollars and these things take a very long time to get executed. So they likely haven't started any of their work yet either. So it's something that we're very interested in to see how the county moves on that bridge. And, basically it's important to the city of Gridley that they get going. So
But getting back to what I could remember, we're balancing scales here. It looks like going underneath the river is not gonna work. Or it's gonna cost so much money that it's halfway out of line. The other alternative is to investigate more on the fact of putting it over the top somehow.
Yeah,
It's gotta be followed through, Dave. or we're gonna
so
have
to your point, it is a balancing of the scales, right? Because you have to look at all of these little pieces. If we have to upgrade every lift station in town, is that $1 million per lift station? Is it $500,000 per lift station? What does that look like, right? You know, and do we have to build a new one right next to it and then keep using the old one and then demo that afterwards because it has to stay functioning? So yeah, we have to balance all of
That's what we're balancing.
that. Exactly. And so if it's a cost thing, what do those costs look like? So we didn't previously evaluate what does it look like to upgrade every pump station and add a mile of pipe and connect it to a bridge. So that's where those are the next steps. Let's get this evaluation done. Let's see, is it still cheaper to drill 100-foot shafts and do a tunnel under the river? Maybe it is.
Yeah.
Maybe that works and it's a different.
Here's what I'm trying to get, is keep pushing for this. And
I will.
please come back to us, because this thing has got to be resolved.
And I will just say that that pipe is pretty bulletproof. It's designed for 500.
Real good until it breaks.
It is. And if it breaks, that's when, you know, the fact that we've been working on it, even if it's a slow process, everybody knows it's a slow process because we have, you know, the Army Corps, the floodplain, the flood control board, we have the State Lands Commission, we have the Water Board, we have all these agencies that have some fish and wildlife, both US and California. Everybody has something to say about how we do this. Can we permit it? I mean, it took us 2.5 years just to be able to drill a hole in the river to see if we could, you know, what the geology. So we are doing the steps that are needed to get a project like this to keep it moving. I mean, the fact it took 5 months just for the water board to, you know, sign off on an amendment, you know, that's the speed of government, right? I mean, that's just what we're up against right now. And so we understand at the city level that this is important to us because this is a lifeline, right? Like we don't function without a way to dispose of our sewer. So we understand that.
The city of Gridley sewer goes through that pipe underneath that river out to our plant. And so that thing breaks.
And we have a backup. We have ponds. There's trucking that can happen. Like those other agencies that have run into issues. I mean, I don't know very many of them that have their wastewater treatment plant on the other side of a river. But you know, we're not alone in the fact that things happen to wastewater and then there's, you know, emergency response. That's actually where most of the money comes from is when there's an emergency, right? I've been told that we don't have any violations on our wastewater. They're not even sure that they'll fund construction for this because we don't have any violations on our wastewater. So they're like, hey, you might want to talk to your case handlers and see if there's some violations that you guys can get thrown at you to get funding for your wastewater. That's one of those things. It's like, do we really want that kind of scrutiny? But, you know, if there's not money, then how do we get the money, right? Because if this is a $30 million project, where's the city come up with $30 million? So it really is a balancing of the scales because we need to know how much money to ask for and can we get it done?
I know you are, but keep being our advocate to get this thing moved forward and please report back as often as you can on it.
Absolutely.
Need to know.
Totally.
Any other?
Yes, one comment. The people of Ridley rely on your expertise. Especially for the functional structural needs we present. Make sure, in my opinion, that you present all possibilities to solve an issue before you request a budget or anything like that. There's a couple of things that I remember in your performance that I commented on in the past, and this is just one more. So I'm just saying that we need the best from you. Okay?
Yes, sir.
The best.
Couple other things with sewer. The details are on here because every department had detail updates. And then we continue to work on those sewer emergency ponds. with bringing import fill in, because of the groundwater issues that we have out there when they put in the slurry wall. Jerry's crew isn't able to maintain them. If you go out there, it's a beautiful duck pond, but there's groundwater sitting in the bottom of it. So we're still in the process of trying to get material brought in when we can. The estimate of what Martin Brothers with the Highway 99 project that they were able to deposit out there was about 20,000 cubic yards. It'll be graded out before they leave. And so again, we're just little bit, it's trying to raise the bottom of the pond. It takes a little bit of our capacity, but we're losing a little bit of the capacity with all the vegetation that's out there anyway. So we're trying to get, again, kind of balance so that Jerry's guys can get out there, keep the weeds down, keep them operable. So that's something that we continue to work on and look for opportunities to take fill material from construction sites, around the area. So it seems to be going in the right direction. As far as future, we talked about this a little bit with Feather River. Engineering assistance for the Highway 99 lift station, what that looks like as far as replacing all the piping and the valving. It's likely something that's going out to bid. I don't think Jerry's with his shorthanded staff has the capacity to actually do a construction project like that. So we're here to assist. The sludge removal, again, looking at these different options of how can we handle that. I just was thinking about this presentation and it, got me thinking, I was like, is there a way for us to maybe process it on the site that we have, right? And then we haul off dried stuff, small increments at a time rather than doing a $4 million project. There would still need to be capital improvements in order to be able to do that and have that facility permitted. But if this is a reoccurring thing that we keep seeing, every 10 or 15 years, we have a really bad sludge problem. Maybe there's a way for us to get out in front of it instead of just having to bite the bullet, every 10 or 15 years for a major investment. The Little Avenue lift station and force main project, that hasn't gone away. We ran into funding applications issues a few years ago. And then, like I mentioned, they're not giving out funding unless there's a violation. So, us submitting applications when there's no money to be had, we haven't put a lot of effort back into that. But again, getting it kind of dusted off with knowing the for funding is coming. These are the times when, if we have the list of projects to request funding for, it's, we position ourselves better to try and get out in front of it when the money first hits instead of trying to catch it at the end when, that we're running out of time to request those funds. And then, just a couple of the other items on here. The Pheasant Run lift station is something that Jerry's been wanting to upgrade for a couple of years or decades or whatever it is. It's one of our critical ones, but it's also pretty difficult for them to maintain. And then we continue the planning for the subdivisions to the north. This is going to require infrastructure build out. So working closely with the developers to really make sure that we're requesting or requiring the appropriate facilities so that, we can continue to grow and also provide those services. And then Jerry had mentioned the CCTV. Again, this is a requirement. So we assist with that planning, the mapping, how we coordinate that. Again, I'd love to get that into a GIS system, an asset management system, so that he can really be more nimble with where he, how he gets that done. And then he didn't mention this, but we had been talking about the courtyard lift station. I think there's been talks about that corner building that was the county courtyard, that maybe the city turns that whole block into the city courtyard, and that would be a really great location to actually relocate the courtyard lift station. So I wanted to make sure we got it on here as a future plan, so you guys are aware that those are, another capital improvement project that Public Works and us are considering.
And I think we recently received information from the county. We requested to see what was underground that property before we took over it. So we wanted to see what was underground. They had any documentation. So they sent over some information and we requested more. So as we receive that information back, it'll be taken back to council for you to consider purchasing of that property. I believe they want 125,000 for it, so
Uh,
125,000 was the,
for the county.
well, that was the appraisal.
Just for the county was that.
Yeah, 125,000.
Parks and Rec, so the sports complex, we hit this major stall you guys know about. I did, want to have something to report, so we're looking at getting the cost back from the contractor for the changes. On May 22nd, so I should be coming back to you on June 1st with what that change order looks like. Having a cost for the new design of the footings, and it'll include kind of any of the changes that have come up to this point. So we have gotten our drafts of all of our geotech reports. So yeah, it's in the contractor's hands. At that time, we'll have a better sense of the costs and we'll go back and talk to the grants folks to see how we could potentially rescope because we're over budget on the initial grant amount. So there's an opportunity for us to maybe reduce the scope of what the grant was going to cover, take up some of those that over budget, liability from the city, and then potentially repackage that into the next grant applications, which we've just gotten word that they're thinking late summer, early fall is when the NOFO for the SSP. Anyway, it's the state cycle 5 of the state grant. They have 188 million that they're gonna distribute. It's only to the California. So we'd like to make sure we get applications in there to cover that.
The practice courts or fields are going to be temporarily there, aren't they? Because the school district is going to build something there. Is that right?
At the sports out at the industrial park?
No, the one on Rundle.
Oh,
We've been, that's different, yeah.
Yeah.
This is the soccer complex, the fields that are gonna go out there.
We mentioned practice fields.
And they're gonna be at
They're
the
going to be at the sports
complex.
complex.
yeah.
But we are still talking about the Randolph. We had a meeting this morning with Greeley Unified School District. We've talked about, and we've looked at the maps out there for potential costs to use their property for fields. We just need to decide based on their design and what areas they would recommend for us to determine what areas we would potentially use for, if we can support that, if the budget supports to put fields out there. So we're looking at that as well.
And ideally, we would get some grass on this. The lights have really slowed things down. The weather hasn't really been great for us, being that it's in a detention basin this spring. They haven't been able to get the equipment back out there just yet because the water is drying out pretty quick. But there is hesitation to do any of the planting until we figure out what we're doing with the lights, because they don't want to plant and then come tear it up when they, the brand new grass or whatever it is, or the grass, when they put the lights in. So the contractor is hesitant because they have a 1-year warranty on it. So it's, it's this kind of.
And it's not gonna be available for this season, this current season that's.
By the fall,
Yeah.
they'd be having to plant right now because we
Yeah.
want 3 months of establishment minimum on that. So yeah, it's unfortunate we're not playing out there this year. But yeah.
How about pedestrian access to the sport complex?
Yeah, so I haven't found a way to fund like that Vermont access yet. It's still definitely there.
Is it pretty far from?
That, one of the things we're looking at with California Consulting, there's some grants that we're looking at for a potential community center. And what that would potentially allow for would be the community access to include maybe a way through Vermont into that area, because currently you only have one access. You need to have a separate access that connects that sports complex with the community. So one of the things staff has been working on is trying to find a grant that will fund a community center out there that would build upon your project, that it's city acquired property that we currently have. So we have the acquisition under our belt, but we need to have grant funding. And so that's what we've been going after, is the grant funding. There's 2 grants that we're looking at currently that we have a meeting, I think, scheduled for tomorrow or sometime this week to update, but those won't be ready until like the fall is when those grants will be. We'll be putting in for those grants to see if we can find some funding. But as you build your sports complex, you need to think about how is that going to connect to your community? And that may be something that we look at for grants.
Yes, the reason I'm asking is because our kids actually use the Sycamore School field for recreation on weekends. And they walk, and it's pretty close by, pretty central.
Yeah.
And the sport complex is a little far from that. So I'm just concerned about access to that.
And I think one of the things to consider as council, you've talked about before, is the Randolph property. That's potentially something we meet with the Gridley Unified School District on a monthly basis. They're not opposed to us using those fields, but we would have to, again, have the funding and a plan on parking and what area of that lot is going to be the best area for us to build on, or at least put some grass down if that's the case.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just a reminder, when we put grass down, we also need to consider the irrigation. That's usually the expensive part. Like, we can get the field graded, we can put seed down, but then how do you keep it alive, right? And so that requires some kind of capital investment. And it's still school property, right? So we would lease it, we'd probably be able to use it, but we're investing in a piece of property that's not city. So
We've talked about having, and this is a good opportunity to open up for the Parks Master Plan. We originally, at one point, we both had it on there for a CIP project. A Parks Master Plan would encompass all the parks in the city, and us examining any other areas or potential acquisition of property. It's important right now for our planner to look at vacant lots in the community, in the city, that we could potentially acquire, whether it's with use of a grant or our own capital, our own impact fees, or some way to acquire that's for a public benefit, a green space. Because I think we don't have anything on that side of the city. And as we're growing on that side, on the west side of the city. So it's important to utilize and look at a contract between the city and the school district to use that area, but also continue to look for green areas and green space. And that includes your developers when they come in. Really, I know that it's bottom dollar for them, but I think the city should really, a detention pond is not a park. And we need to start really being firm on that. And planning and connecting the communities as they come into the city, and requiring some parks, some open green space for those communities.
And I will just, to follow that up, we're right on the cusp of this Prop 4 funding. So, Alicia keeps hitting on, these grants that we'll be able to pursue in the fall. It's just the first cycle, right? So the more prepared we get now for our parks, for our cooling centers, our community centers, the better positioned we'll be, because I think the park program got like 700 million. If they're only using 188, that means that there's going to be another cycle. And a lot of times they're looking at property acquisition, access, all of these things.
Ready project.
Yeah, and yes, shovel ready, but also those other components that get, like you said, to get the kids to the park, right? It's one thing to build a park, but if they've got to travel 2 miles to get there, across the highway, then it's not really accessible.
So that's where you look at also, the ATP, safe school routes.
Yeah.
These things are also in line with that because you can build a beautiful park, but are the kids gonna be able to bike there? How are they gonna access it? And how is the parking gonna be stretched? So there's a lot that goes into just applying for the grant, but you have to be ready. If you're not ready, you're not gonna, they're very, very competitive. And I think Mark can vouch for that. How many have we applied for? Multiple grants, and it's very competitive. And if you're not, you don't have all the work done, you're not gonna score very high.
So I just interject something. When that FEMA park was put in out there, we got some access, some right of ways or whatever you call it, that I think are still on the books.
Yeah.
And that's straight off Vermont and goes, I think the only hesitation from getting from Vermont to there with a simple trail, for example, is the ditch.
Yep.
So that is something we need to work on now.
Yeah.
With those districts, that's their biggest.
Mhm.
So covering those ditches before they're even considered being crossed is what they're gonna want.
And we've been meeting with the water districts quarterly, and recently with LAFCO even, in the room, and we've talked about having a master plan to decide what areas in the city need to be covered and what areas we need to work on. We're looking, what we've seen historically is we look at one area and we're being reactive every time. And proaction would be to have a plan in place on where these ditches are located and have a map. Of course, we're gonna need some information from the water districts and getting their engineer to provide that information. So it's a collaborative effort from the city and the water districts. I think we're on a better path now, and we have more of a collaborative effort going on these areas. We're meeting with developments that are coming in and we're going over the maps, and they're expressing their concerns. We have everyone at the table. So I think it's correct. We do need to have some way of managing and not putting if we can do a grant and find something to study that and pay for the design or the work or everything. So sometimes you have to go after a technical grant before you can get the grant to build it. So a lot of the grants you want to go for, sometimes maybe it's not the grant to build it, but it's the technical grant that'll get you there. So the study, the design, paying for any consulting work that needs to be done. And then once you get through that, then the next round would be the actual grant, because now you have acquired the property, the acquisition's in order, all of your foundation is ready to go. You're scoring higher on the competitiveness of the construction of the project.
I agree with that, but I think the basic steps can be taken right now, and that's sitting down with the canal districts, water districts right now.
Mhm.
And say, this is what we're potentially looking at doing, and we're gonna go after money to get this done. What are we gonna need that's gonna be part of this grant? Get all that stuff done ahead of time.
Yeah.
I think we've met with them and we've asked
Well, and
discussions about that.
yeah, and we were to the point, I mean, there's culvert, concrete culverts sitting out there, right? We were to the point of getting ready to build it. And we ran into some friction with the previous administration there and the previous board. So I agree with you. It's a great time to bring that back to the table, especially in this kind of grant season that we're in. Because if we could get a culvert, even if they would let us just put that culvert in and like you said, put in a trail, maybe we can cut it. We do have a 12-foot right of way for access over there. And we had in the works, we were looking at a full 60-foot, like we had got to that place where we were planning it, but because we got blocked at crossing the irrigation ditch, that kind of fizzled out. So
I mean, there's actually, if by making a phone call, there's probably another access too.
through the down Kentucky, you talking about Kentucky?
No, not at all. No.
Oh.
There's another access point. By making a telephone call, you could probably get the rights to that access too. I don't, but still, it's not on the other side of the ditch, but still, it's on this side of the ditch, so.
Oh,
There's a street, like a spur that goes down there, and then there's a house at the end of that street that would probably give you access to go right into there.
That's something we can
You
explore.
know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Sorry.
It's private driveways.
So, yeah, there could be access there too. It's just how it's approached, who approaches them, and, you know,
well, so
still not getting us across that canal. So-
We can put that on our list for planning of roundtabling that and discussing that.
I think that that needs to go right along with, since we're waiting for lighting to be installed. I think that during, you know, that particular, waiting for that to be done, we need to be working on the access to that industrial.
yeah, and I'll pull the files on that. We'll get the package back out and in front of the district, Donnie over there, the new district manager. Right? Because I think that's our first step is, he may not even be aware that we were talking about that because that was back when Mark was still at the helm. So I 100% agree with you. That should be a priority to get us access, especially as soon as we get grass out there and we've got soccer fields. I mean, that's where we want our kids to go, right? They don't have to walk on the highway. They don't have to, they don't have to get a car ride over there. They can ride their bikes out of town. So
I have put it on our list.
great idea. Transportation streets. So this is again 25-26 reflection. Highway 99. I don't know about you guys. I drive down it. I feel like there's an end in sight. We're starting to see those sidewalks come in and starting to see little flags where they're going to start putting in plants. And there's still a lot of work. I know we all have our little bits of criticism here and there on how it could have been done differently. A little bit out of our hands in the sense that it was a Caltrain, Caltrains drove the design with our input, but it'll be nice when they're done and we can stop having road closures and all that kind of stuff. And new asphalt.
I'm just gonna make one comment. It's silly, and I just couldn't get my phone out or my camera out quick enough. Literally on Sunday, there was two people between West Liberty and the Burger King. One was on a bicycle and the other one was pulling something, and they were in the street. I'm not kidding you. My wife was with me and I go, look.
There's a beautiful sidewalk there. Wow. Wow.
And almost the guy on the bike almost got hit.
Well, it's one of those things we deal with as engineers. We try to engineer stupid out of people, but it just can't be done sometimes. Sorry, I'm not sure I can say that in council, but yeah.
Do we know, just a quick question on the shrubbery. I've seen other highway projects and some of them look like there's weeds. I'm just hoping that the shrubbery is nice.
So it is
Because-
native, drought resistant requirement stuff.
If you go through Live Oak,
Honestly, I don't think Live Oak does any maintenance, which is why Jerry's like, I need two people. When we take this over, I need two people to keep it pretty, right? And because I drive through Live Oak too, and I see the weeds, and you're like, it would be a nice little detention facility or whatever it is, right? If they just kept the weeds down, but I don't think they do. So yes, ideally, we're gonna have. Well, and we don't have the little drainage catchments like they have in
I think
Live Oak.
that's what I don't see that here,
Yeah,
but I'm just saying some of the grassy,
yeah.
I see the grassy plants that they have and they look nice and whimsical, but I don't want to see that there.
There will be
I'm
some,
thinking it's
there
nice.
will be some of those, because that's the native drought tolerant. And then we do have some like under drains that are kind of between the landscape and the sidewalk. So those will be areas that Jerry will have a lot of fun with keeping clean. Just needs to form a little crack. So, all right, well, moving on, updating all your standards again, the Laurel Street extension, that was a big push. We were able to get that submitted. So now it's the hurry up and wait for the feds to figure out if they want to fund it. Because that one comes through HCD and then CDBG. You'll be seeing that we continue to do the SB1 project list and reporting. So, again, just some of the administrative pieces that go along with your streets and roads program. Right now, we're working, you'll actually see this on Monday, a Safe Streets for All grant application. So we're talking about trying to get money into the city and get us back, prepared for those next rounds. Included in that are some of the projects that I brought before you. So the Fairview East Gridley Road intersection. For years we've been talking about how that is a critical intersection with our kids and traffic, going to Safeway and just not, no control at that intersection. So we're submitting on that. Again, looking at kind of feasibility of what kind of controls work there, what kind of traffic calming, also gap closures. Another one we're putting in that project is out in front of Wilson School. There's the Lincoln Street and that kind of intersection, and it gets really kind of muddled up during pickup and drop off. So, is there ways for us to make that a better intersection or maybe eliminate it as an intersection, right? Is that if that can be done and it works. So what this application does is it allows funding for the studies and literally somebody going out there with counters, and potentially putting up demonstrations. So these temporary facilities. So let's say we want to block off Lincoln. What does that look like? We need to have somebody that's out there, making notes, making comments. What's traffic look like? So then it gets fed back into the safety action plan, which we were a part of the counties. So we have a safety action plan. This is supplemental to that. And it basically, it sets us up for the ATP, the active transportation grants, which are the ones that really fund the construction of these projects. So that's something we're working on right now. I'll have more to explain on that when I bring you back on Monday. And then in coordination with the county and VCAG, we've been working with them quite a bit to identify these safety plans, these areas where, the city could just improve their bike, pedestrian, and traffic safety. We did actually submit a call for projects to VCAG for CMAQ funding, looking at the Cherry Street project, the sidewalk project, putting a sidewalk from Highway 99 to Haskell on Cherry Street, and then also the same Fairview project to see if we can actually move it. So that one, we're kind of looking at two different grants, whichever one we can kind of get the funding from. If we can get it from Safe Streets for All, it keeps CMAQ funds in the region. If we can't, then VCAG is kind of ready to step in. So they've asked us to kind of look at both and see if we could get funding for the Fairview. So we've been doing that. And I actually just told you about things that we're working on for next year, which are all those: the Cherry Street, Fairview Gap, the East Gridley Road, Fairview intersection, and then those future funding applications. CMAQ is a congestion mitigation grant. So Gridley doesn't kind of sit as well there as like Chico or Orville or Sacramento, because we don't really have the congestion, but because we have VCAG, they give us little pieces of it. So we continue to find projects to ask for it. And then active transportation. And then we'll assist Jerry with whatever he needs for the upcoming paving projects, and then looking forward to pavement management after that. Because we gotta keep figuring out what streets to do next. So drainage. This picture of the sports complex, it is now draining. We have a pump in this little wet well that you see there. There wasn't one now, and so it's doing its job. A lot of our drainage, it has to do with the maintenance assessment districts. So we do a lot of drainage analysis with the plan checking, because the new developments have very strict outlet governing, requirements. And so that's a big piece of what we do when it comes to citywide draining. For the future, we do need to update our drainage master plan, so that's something that we need to, again, figure out some funding for. It does it does come out of the general fund, so, and it, at this point, is probably about a $250,000 effort, so figuring out how we can fund a drainage master plan, but then that feeds back into our municipal service reviews, our ability to serve the future development. One of the things we talk about, the reason they want to put the parks in the detention basin is they are required to detain the stormwater. So they have to give up a piece of their land in their development to do that. They want to make it a park, which doesn't work in the wintertime. So, I don't know about your guys' kids, but mine would love to go to the park when it's, in the wintertime when it's sunny. You can't do that in the detention basin. So having a master plan, maybe that identifies kind of a regional area that we could send water to. So I do think it's important. I put it on here. This isn't necessarily something that I would do. It's something that I would just help facilitate, which is why it falls under.
So I have a question. Why couldn't the city, for example, buy a piece of property that's going to be a detention area? And then every time there's a development that comes in, the developer buys a piece of that back.
They very well, that I'm sure that other cities are doing things very similar to that.
That way we know where it's at.
Yeah.
And then that's part of the deal.
Yeah, and that's where a drainage master plan, if you put that in the RFP, then we want to analyze that. What does that look like? We do have a couple different drainage districts. So like if you're in the south part of town and you're developing, it's going to RE 2056. So, how do we deal with development down there? Maybe it's not as much. So, we're really pushing towards the north and the west. So, what does it look like on RD 833 and that coordination? And, do they have a piece downstream from us that, could be?
Probably not.
I was gonna say, most of it is farmland, right? So are we, how do we balance, the regional agriculture with the need for the urban expansion and what does that look like?
Basically, by Mother Nature, everything drains west from here, in this area.
Either west or south, right? In 2050.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're either going to the north of the buttes out there, or it's heading down into Sutter and then out towards the south. Both go to the Sacramento River. But I have done kind of like I've mapped the Morrison Slough and because
Two drainage districts ought to be involved in the cost of developing a drainage system. I think, I don't know.
Yeah, I would too, but
I was gonna say, yeah.
We might,
Vincent will do it.
maybe they would go into a joint grant,
That's what I-
Yeah.
I mean, a partner.
We talked about a regional, I think, even last, we talked a little bit about regional.
I don't think they should be left out.
They absolutely need to be involved. I've been asking for years, like, what are the criteria? How do we get to that point? It's so, yes, I agree with you 100%.
They figured if they were here first and the city second. That's the mentality.
Yep, it is. So anyway, more to come, this is always something that's in our minds. I do want to remind that we have talked about the Heron Landing pump station upgrade, the need for some kind of, leaf capture system out there. So that stays on the list as future drainage, efforts. And then we still have a headache with Eagle Meadows outlet, and just how it kind of captures trash and debris and what needs to be done to modify that and make it less of a maintenance, just less maintenance. So, we do assist electrical. I have electrical miscellaneous here. Really, we're just there to help Ryan whenever he's got questions. We've been doing a lot with the 99, helping be that intermediary between them, that liaison to help him get what he needs done out there. He's really been pulling his hair out with those guys. So we're trying, we've also worked with him to update the standards and specs. Right now, we're looking at the courtyard expansion, so assisting him with getting survey done and then looking at what that might look like for grading. The parking that he wants out there on the back with like a pole barn type of thing. So it really, whatever he needs as far as engineering, we're that support to him. And so we'll keep doing that as he needs us to do it. Plan checking, you guys hear a lot about the development and plan checking, so I'm not gonna spend too much time. You can just see the things that we've been assisting with here over the last few years. And then continue, as we just talked, reclamation districts, irrigation, that agency coordination. We're engaged, we're working on what the plan is to cooperate and then make these facilities better to serve the city in that cooperative manner. And then just the additional assistance. We continue to help with strategic planning, permitting, right of way, easements, coordination, really whatever staff needs us to do as far as that additional assistance, whether as a member of, your staff. That's my presentation. Thank you. Pleasure.
I could ask one thing, you may have covered it and I might have been making other notes. Sewer capacity study.
So we did a brief memo in 2022. There hasn't really been a whole lot of change since 2022 because we haven't had it. The developments have been working, but they haven't really actually built anything. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but the upgrade in 2011 really did give us that room to grow as far as that capacity goes. So it's there at the treatment plant. Right now it's how do we get the sewage to the treatment plant, minus the sludge problem, right? Like that's the only thing I think like as the sludge continues to grow, it does reduce our capacity a little, but our water quality is still there. So we don't really have any issues right now with capacity as far as the wastewater treatment plant goes. And collection system is one of those things that we would love to invest in, but I think we have bigger concerns with the lift stations and the pipelines and the treatment plant than the collection system. I don't feel like I&I has been a huge issue the last few years. So, but it's something that we monitor with our the daily logs, the monthly logs. Like we see those fluctuations with rain events as the water comes into the wastewater treatment plant. So
I think it was brought to our attention in the MSR that was one of the things they were concerned about. Was the last time we had a study was many years ago, and we hadn't had an updated study. So I'm just curious.
But
we all obviously haven't had the.
I don't know if they just didn't see it
Okay.
because we looked at all of those numbers and we gave the update to what it was in 2022 as to where we are capacity wise. So I mean
to accommodate the new potential legacy project.
Well, we did it looking at future development. So we gave a number that says, we can handle another 800 homes. Well, since then, I don't know, what if we had like 6 homes? Because, Parkland, right? And then you look at Pacific Flyway and you look at Stephen Estates and it's like, okay, there's another 90 homes. So now we still have another 700. You bring in Chandler, there's another 200. We still have capacity, right? So to me, the capacity is there. I felt like we presented it. Obviously they didn't receive it well enough, but from an engineering standpoint,
I want to make sure that that's on record, that we have capacity for what the current plans are for the new development that we currently have in our books.
I think when I'm reading the MSR, I don't think we had an issue with what we've projected and what's going in. I think there was. If there was, I would have caught that for it. So
Okay.
Yeah. So and we'll do the MSR again in another 5 years. So I mean, for me, the sewer capacity right now is kind of lower on the priority list of coming back and checking it. our wells, our drinking water, making sure that it's arsenic. That to me is kind of a bigger issue, but that's also why, like, when Legacy comes in, we're saying you have to put in another well, right? You're bringing another, I don't remember how many units theirs is, but they're way out there. And that was one of the things we did this year with Avatar, was they were having issues with flow. And so we were looking at flow. And so I was looking at some of the numbers, and one of the issues is, he's a mile away from the nearest well. So it's not just, we have capacity, it's by the time that he opens his valve, it takes a while for that water to get all the way out there once the well kicks on. So there's this drop in pressure that they see. So when we have a development come in and it's way out there and it's close as well as Eagle Meadows, we need them to put in another well, because it's not just, do we have capacity? Can we supply the pressure so when the fire department shows up and needs to open up a hydrant or two, that water's not taking 5 minutes to get out there.
And I think,
It's there, it's just the pressure drop, right?
and I think they were okay with it. Well, they,
Yeah,
yeah.
they were, yes, so,
Okay.
right,
Any more questions, council?
got enough for today.
Brian,
All right, well, thank you.
Thank who's next?
That's the last one.
No,
Oh, this is the last.
yeah.
I didn't know we had it. Let's start with that. We're waiting for. Mayor and council, thank you very much for this brief 2 to 3 hour presentation.
You hadn't asked so many questions, it wouldn't took them.
It's not working now.
It is not working.
Did you turn it off on the side?
It broke the thing.
Your system broke.
Well, there we go.
Okay, raise the volume.
I just wanted to take note of this picture right here. This was up front of a couple council members' house. With the assistance of Butte County SWAT team, we were able to apprehend a shooting suspect. And he ended up getting pulled over right in front of the mayor's house. That was back in June of 25.
I seen that too from my house.
That was kind of fun, though.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
So the mission statement of the Gridley Police Department is the mission of the Gridley Police Department to work in partnership with the community to serve with integrity, honor, and professionalism, to protect lives and property, to preserve the peace and order, to create a working environment in which we recruit, train, and develop an exceptional team, and above all, to protect the constitutional rights of each individual in the community we serve. Probably one of the most important services your PD provides is the telecommunications center records management. Your public safety dispatch and telecommunications center has 2 fully integrated 911 dispatch consoles with computer-aided dispatch, which provides California law enforcement telecommunications system, CLETS, and 2-way radio system. Also integrated in that is GPS location for all active 911 calls and text to 911 capabilities. And regarding records management, which plays a vital role, is completion of all local, state, and federal reporting requirements, including but not limited to stop data, NIMERS, DOJ validations, CLETS use, auditing, and case routing for criminal prosecution or non-criminal filings, which is multiple times daily of that type of stuff. Also, what they're doing is filing and registration of associated sex offenders, and arson register verifications. Another important service for your PD provides to the community's patrol operations. Listed on there is kind of a brief summary of some incidents from 2024 and 2025. One thing I would take note of is the traffic stops on the two different things compared to citations. Your police department is not out there to punish, but out there to educate. Another important role that your police department provides is school resource officer, which provides huge community support and support to the children. And the SRO position is funded at a cost share with the Greeley Unified School District. Some of the responsibilities for the SRO is conducting all investigations on campuses within the Greeley Unified School District. She also works closely with administrators in an effort to create a safer environment to both students and staff. And since the implementation was 4 years ago, the relationship between the school district, the city, and the community, I think, has raised significantly. More trust amongst the students and a much better path forward. Another service we provide is animal control. Everybody loves animals. And with the animal control services, it establishes relationships with the local and interstate adoption agencies for adoptions and fostering of all breeds of animals. Some of the stuff that she and previous animal control officers have been able to do is start the TNR program, which is trap, neuter, release of the cats, veterinary care for the sheltered animals, and currently today approximately has raised over $10,000 to help with that sort of stuff. Also, what your police department has been involved in is community involvement, and listed on there are some of the events that the police department participates in. There are a few others, but these are the big ones that we do each year with the National Night Owl, Teddy Bear Clinic, school presentations, Red Suspenders Day, the Winter Parade and the SAR Board and the Butte County Fair. Also, your police department has a strong presence on social media. The top right is what's called Citizen RIMS. So if any community member wants to go on the city website and go on to Citizen RIMS, they can see kind of different calls for service, what is happening around town. If something is happening in a certain area, different types of crime and whatnot, they can get real-time, right?
Yes.
Real-time acts or information on what's going on. And also with our Facebook presence, which provides updates on different things and press releases. Also on social media that has been very helpful is animal control, which has been able to reunite pet owners back with their animals much quicker than just calling in or whatnot. They will see posts on the Facebook page and we'll connect with our animal control officer and get reunited much quicker. Take note of that picture on there. That is from July 25, the robbery at BMO Bank. That was what was recovered and returned back then, approximately $90,000. But anyways, some of the revenue that the police department is able to provide is a contract with the Greeley Unified School District for the school resource officer, police services contract with City of Biggs, our COPS grant fund, public safety augmentation fund, and other miscellaneous revenue from vehicle releases, traffic fines, records requests, animal control donations, impounds, and licensing. Currently, this is what was approved last year with the budget. Initially, with the budget, 9 officers was approved, but with the city of Biggs contract and mid-year budget, 2 additional positions were funded. What is proposed for this upcoming fiscal year is all the same, except if you see in the middle of the screen, detectives, and in communications and discussions with finance director and other city staff to help with the budget, proposing to freeze the BNTIF officer. So there'll be one less funded position. And the one ask I did have is, and I know there's been a lot of big asks for money wise in the previous administration, which was needed, is purchase of a patrol vehicle, which would come out of the cops grant fund, not the general fund. And that number is for the purchase of the vehicle outfitting, radio purchase, and the radio installation. And the police department greatly appreciates the support that the council has given the police department, not only since my time as chief, but my entire time working for this town. And I am open to any questions if anybody has.
So the cops like us.
For the record, are you fully staffed?
No, we're not. Currently have with this current budget 3 vacancies.
You're looking for 3 and need 3.
Correct.
Good. Not very good, but I understand. Any questions?
Just a comment, I rely a lot on the police department. Ever since I started working here in Ridley, I had a good relationship with the police department. I tried to assist anytime I could with the type of clients I had. And now, when I go out, I belong to a couple of board of directors. I was praised the police department, or really being one of the most peaceful towns in the area. I think the crime rate here is a lot lower than other places. Well, a lot of similar sized cities. So the police department has been very helpful in some of my activities in town. And I continue to do that, as well as the public works department. And thank you.
Thank you.
Next, please.
You should have something to say.
I think he's doing a great job.
I'm glad he likes this, that's all. Yeah, I'm pretty glad he likes it. Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
They'll increase the budget for you.
That's it. That's all for
So
today.
that's it for today?
Well, no closed session, so we'll stand adjourned. What is that? We don't, this is